Hello and welcome to the show. And yes, the big bang Reliance Industries AGM speech has just concluded, and there are so many important highlights really coming in from that particular company and from Mukesh Dhirubhai Ambani's speech. But first, the key point, he did commemorate his 2 decades of leadership at the helm of Reliance Industries. And at that event, he also gave a sneak peek into the future leaders and the generation next of Reliance Industries going forward. Remember that the first step was already taken with Akash Ambani joining the board and becoming the chairman of Reliance Jio Infocom very recently, and the other 2 leaders, Isha Ambani working on Reliance Retail and Anant Ambani formally also announced on the new energy business. This is one of the very big important events coming in as a sneak peek into the succession planning. But when it comes to some of the important businesses, a new O2C investment cycle is definitely a surprise for the market, because it looked like that the new energy business $10 billion announcement that came in last year would be the main focus. But O2C business investment is a very important one. And apart from that, many other big events that we are going to delve into. Let me welcome on the show Manish Chokhani, who's the director of Enam Holdings, joining us. Manish, we're joined by my colleague Prashant Nair as well as Sonia Shenoy in the studio. My first question to you, in terms of the flavor and the founder mindset, as well as the sneak peek into the succession planning of the next gen of Reliance Industries, what is your view, being somebody who has closely tracked and worked with this particular conglomerate?
Thanks, Nisha, for having me on. As you rightly said, see, Reliance is the bellwether for India. It's our largest company. The largest profit pool in India comes from Reliance. The amount of cash they generate, that gives you really a signal of where they see the whole country and the economy heading. And in effect, they are the ones who are being at the forefront of leading it to the next, next orbits. As he's already announced in the past, the 5G investments already are going to again kickstart a new cycle for the telecom business. Retail is doing great. You rightly pointed out today they've kickstarted even the $10 billion investment back into oil to chemicals business, which, following what happened in Ukraine, I think the whole world has kind of taken a step back and said, maybe we need to push back the ESG goals a lot more, and we need to be a lot more self-sufficient. So that's certainly happening. The new energy investment of 10 billion.
Oops, I think there's some issue with that video. We'll go back to Manish Chokhani in a bit, but we also want to focus a little more on what they're doing in the telecom business, because definitely telecom is entering the next phase of growth. As the management pointed out, they will be investing 2 lakh crores for the rollout of the 5G network, and they've given a very firm timeline. By Diwali this year is when Jio will launch the largest 5G network. They'll of course have pan-India 5G coverage by the end of 2023, so quick rollouts happening over there. And there will be a large investment of 2 lakh crores for Jio's 5G rollout. So, of course, we'll try and get back to Manish Chokhani in a bit. But that is the telecom, rollout that they've spoken about. Apart from that, very interesting, they will be launching the FMCG business this year as well. And retail is a big focus area for them, within which the FMCG business features. They will be investing 75,000 crores in the oil to chemical business over the next 5 years. So, at the end of the day, across all businesses, they've spoken about the next phase of growth, and hence they're aiming to double their value by 2027.
On the 5G thing, what got my attention was that you checked the devices which they showcased, right? There was the air fiber thing, which I think is a great thing. And the other one is, the PC, the computer, the cloud PC, the Jio Cloud PC, I think is what it's called. Which, of course, also sort of the aim is that it replaces desktops, etc. They said they're already doing it, in their offices, Reliance offices, and widespread adoption is essentially the aim. Manish is with us. Manish, we lost you there. Please go on. Please complete that point. Essentially, what is the takeaway for you from this AGM? What should we really take away?
Prashant, I think the big news is the continued confidence in India and the bet being taken. And so many different vectors along which Reliance is growing, and also presaging, because that will take a lot of downstream investments from others as well. So it's in a way that whole capex cycle that one was waiting for to get kick-started, you're seeing it coming across from everyone. And no one better than Reliance, which is our largest company with the largest cash flows, to actually show us the way forward. So, personally, it's a great sign for the country.
Okay. Manish, hi. Welcome to the show. On the telecom rollout, I mean, they've given some firm timelines. There's a big investment of 2 lakh crores. So clearly they're gunning for, in any case, the telecom business has now virtually become a 2-player market and they're gunning for further market share there. How do you think that will impact the overall business? Do you see more value in the stock now because of what's happening with the telecom business?
Sonia, there's always value in Reliance at every point because it's a company which is constantly growing and constantly changing its orbit. And as you rightly said, even on 5G, if you saw the recent bids which were made, there were more than 2 times the amount that bandwidth taken by Reliance as compared to even Airtel. And the areas in which they are seeking to use it will range from education and healthcare to industry to sports to just the whole gamut. And it effectively gives you broadband through the air, as opposed to the geo fiber which you have to take into your homes. So it just kickstarts everything. I heard you all briefly talking about the virtual PC, which in a way, every businessman and every small, trader in India can effectively have their own machine and run everything on that. And for the Internet of Things to actually come into existence, this is the basic backbone which you will need to run all of that. So I think it just changes another dimension to the telecom business and makes it really virtually how best to say it is the airborne kind of infrastructure of India, in a sense, has been laid out. Much as we survived, during COVID period, thanks only to the network which was there. I think this is just setting the stage for the next leap forward. And the fact that they've created the technology indigenously in India, not being reliant on Huawei and so on, although there is a Qualcomm partnership there, is all exciting stuff.
That's right, Manish. Now, when we look at the large conglomerates in India, and Manish, many have grown now over the years. Now, with the thrust that is given in terms of the balancing act also in the energy business, and you briefly spoke about the Ukraine crisis also having an impact. What do you make of the balance at Reliance Industries in terms of giving the clear targets of the $10 billion investment in the solar energy, where the new information is 2 gigawatts of solar energy capacity by 2025? And on the other hand, also to see business in reinvestment has been kickstarted now till 2026, $10 billion. And Reliance Industries' renewable energy consumption has jumped up by 350% in last 1 year, on track to its net zero emission target by 2035.
So, Nisha, if you think of it, Reliance does a post-tax profit of 10 billion, and they do almost a $15 billion cash flow annually. And if you think of investment cycles spread over 4 years, that's $60 billion in a way of equity, which is available to invest. And assume they run on their, erstwhile mantra of 0.5 debt equity. You have a $90 billion kind of outlay, which is possible over the next 4 years. And which all these announcements are really pointing you in that direction. And like he rightly always says, say the new energy investment or the solar investment, this is not the end point. They're putting down the first level $10 billion investments, see how it goes, and then nothing stops you from scaling it, 3x, 4x, 5x from there. And you will surely be growing your cash flow stream over the next 4 or 5 years as well. So all I'm saying is he's laid down the tracks on which you want to grow, which, telecom was one, new energy was the second, the erstwhile oil to chemicals business is the third, retail, of course, is now, fairly self-sustaining. So you have all these vectors on which they're able to grow, and they're showing you they have ability to reinvest capital, to produce an incremental return on capital employed, to continue to remain at a leadership position in the Indian market. So, I mean, really, that's really the basic takeaway over.
Manish, what also stood out was the emphasis on technology partners, right? I mean, straight out acquisitions, but also sort of working with the best in respective fields around the world, because some of these businesses are cutting edge and technology develops, and you got to be with it, and that augurs well, doesn't it? Absolutely.
So, Prashant, you would have, we've all spoken a lot about what happened in the world post certainly the Ukraine war, where people realize you need to have onshoring of businesses. You need to, restock all the, inventory which you may or may not be able to get because of disrupted supply chains. And you may be held hostage due to technology and platforms. And Reliance, in a way, had already thought of this year. You see, everything they do, they try and indigenize the technology, or in a way take ownership of the technology. So even what happened in telecom earlier with the investments with Facebook and with Google and with now, of course, with Qualcomm and the others, is basically saying we want to really embed this technology development into India for the next phase of growth for the economy, where we can't remain technology dependent on other countries. And we have to create solutions which are right for our country. So I think they're just doing a phenomenal job. And if not them, who else is going to do this at the scale at which they are? And India remains really the last big market for the world. And when you want to partner with someone like Reliance, naturally the terms are tilted in favor of Reliance. What I didn't hear, of course, this year in the AGM was their global aims of internationalizing the business, which, during the course of the year, you heard about them putting a bid for Boots and others like that. And maybe that's also one leg which is going to come out as they build their brand and try and take the company global as well.
So that takes us to
technology and branding, both, I guess, will become two more fulcrums for this great company.
Sure. That brings us to the retail piece, right, which is growing at such a fast pace. I mean, despite a very challenging year, FY22, they saw, what, 25 to 30% growth in their retail business, and now they're launching their FMCG business this year as well. In any case, in the last AGM, Mukesh Ambani had said that the retail business will triple in the next 3 to 5 years. From a shareholder perspective or a long-term investor perspective, how important is this piece?
So 65% of India is consumption. And within that, organized retail is still a very, very small part. So, while they've reached 2 lakh crore, it's kind of one milestone along a journey, which is going to be far, far larger. And even the launch of FMCG within retail is kind of a natural outcome, because when you have the customers, their likes, you start creating these private labels. So you start eliminating the marketing and advertising kind of dollars which were being wasted in a way. So again, if you look at this as a journey of creating, say, a Walmart inside, it's a long, long journey ahead of you. And this will become, because it's a consumer-facing business, a very, very large piece. And of course, the market's been waiting for long for a spin-off and a IPO from the retail piece as well, like we've been waiting for what happens to the whole telecom piece. So this too shall happen.
Right. In fact, Manish, that 5-year timeline was given in 2019 AGM by Mukesh Ambani, and next 2 years are going to be quite eventful on that front. Many investors are also waiting for capitalization of their investments in that as well. But Manish, a new segment, I would say, where Reliance Industries has shown a lot of thrust in the recent announcement is also the media space. Now, this is also an important piece in their whole digitization bouquet that they present. Yeah. While Mukesh Ambani was talking about the fiber fixed broadband adoption, and India being amongst the top 10 in the world, and Jio trying to enable it. On the other hand, he also spoke about Viacom 18 and the OTT movies concentration, and also the IPL gamut, which could be much more exciting to the viewer with the new tech stack that they showcased. What's your view on this space and, end-to-end solution when it comes to the digital space, and also making money on the consumption side from the media angle?
So, Nisha, if you all keep calling it a telecom business, and at least I don't think of what Reliance has built as a telecom business. Because the telecom business per se was a dumb pipe, and you're selling minutes, in a way, to use the language that Bharti uses, that you're a minute factory and you want to sell the airtime. But what Reliance is attempting is to go beyond, to add value to that airtime. So, like I said, you will find something in sports, you will find something in movies, you will find something on healthcare, you will find education, you will find people running their businesses, because that's really the value-added data which goes into this fat pipes that they have built of capacity, first with 4G and now, of course, with 5G. And the acceleration that you get because of these capacities creates velocity in the economy. And that velocity, then, you're the toll bridge which collects something each time something is moving inside over there. So they've certainly built an ecosystem thinking, 360 degrees. And it's not the sort of traditional way one looks at a pure telecom company as, how many minutes and how much capacity and so on and so forth, because there is a lot more value addition that can be done there. Also mix it up with your retail piece where transactions will happen here. There hopefully will be a financial services piece as well. And I mean, everything which happens really in the ecosystem is happening on these new highways, the sort of new traffic signals that they're putting out, the new shops they're building. So think of it as really the metaverse in a way has already arrived in India much before, what Facebook is trying to build in the rest of the world. And I hope I'm not exaggerating when I say it, but certainly I see it in that manner. That they are building the guardrails and the infrastructure for the future.
Manish, what did you make of the responsibilities with respect to the next gen? When we talk about Reliance, we talk very large numbers in terms of expansion, as you said, separate tracks in terms of where they want to go being put out. But at the core, right at the top, I mean, the management is also extremely seasoned, right? I mean, the core top management team in that respect.
No, absolutely, Prashant, that you don't run organizations of this size and this kind of excellence, without a very, very solid caliber of people there. And I know for years, Mukesh Bhai has always been lowering the average age. And he thinks in terms of giving responsibility to executives, in their early 40s. Because that's really your golden decade when, you have the expertise and the vision and the, detail. And as far as it comes to, obviously the next generation of Reliance, he's also streamlined and said that, Akash will look at telecom, I mean, the way it's defined. Isha has obviously been leading retail, and Anant now will, be looking at new energy and so on. But all this, remember, is to be preparing them for non-executive board roles, where executives will be running the business, but they couldn't have just been transported at the top, not knowing what is happening at the ground level. So they're certainly been inside the business, earning their spurs, knowing the nitty-gritties, so no one can take them for a ride in the future. And as this company will be, multiple times of what it is, they will in a sense co-creators of these new businesses, very much like the previous generation had worked alongside the late Dhirubhai, building out, what was the then great oil to chemicals company.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that they're doing it in a very, very professional and a correct way.
Absolutely. And, a clear discussion on the succession roadmap is critical, right, for not just for Reliance Industries, lakhs of investors, but for several corporates. I mean, it's a green flag, safeguards the continuity of the business as well. Manish, a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks a lot for joining in. We have Balaji Subramanian, the Vice President of IIFL Securities, who's also with us on the show. It was interesting, Balaji, that, Mukesh Ambani ended the AGM on a rather emotional note, saying that he has attended every single one of the last 45 AGMs since the start, right? So, and then followed it up with the whole succession plan as well. Whatever was spoken about today, does it give you more confidence in the stock? Do you think that there could be a re-rating upwards despite the kind of outperformance that the stock has already seen? Okay, I don't think my voice is reaching him. So, Balaji, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead,
I
please.
just looped in a little later than expected. So I think I missed the first part of your question. So, if you don't mind repeating, it will be good.
Sure. Just your overall takeaways, what stood out for you from this AGM and what's your view on the stock?
So firstly, I will comment on Jio, and on Jio, what we got to know is that the 5G rollout, at least in the 4 metros, will be done by Diwali. So that's an incremental piece of information. But as of now, we don't have any details on the pricing of the pack, 5G packs, nor we have, and I think there were some expectations on some announcements regarding a 5G handset from Jio. So we didn't get to hear any of that. And the other thing to note is that the company has announced that it would have a pan-India coverage by December 2023. And they have also earmarked rupees 2 lakh crores of a capital investment. Of course, we don't know what time frame this investment would be made, but still, it's a fairly sizable amount. considering the fact that they have already put in about 90,000 crores in terms of spectrum expenditure. So I think some of those finer details are not yet known, but otherwise, at least it gave some direction on where the company is heading in terms of its 5G strategy. Where the chairman clearly articulated that Jio would focus on a standalone 5G network. And that is also a kind of, it was largely obvious because that is the sole reason why Jio went and bid for the 700 megahertz band in these auctions. So in a way, that was kind of reinforcing what was known. But otherwise, we just have this extra bit of information, and also the fact that Jio will complement its ongoing FTTH rollout with the FWA, which is the technology that you can offer over wireless, which will offer speeds and throughputs which are similar to fiber. So
Yes.
we also know that Jio would be focusing on FWA using 5G in the next few months.
That's right. So 5G thrust definitely, but let me go also to Deven Choksey, who's been patiently waiting. Deven, good to have you on the show. What do you make of the new investment cycle which has been kickstarted in O2C business?
Good afternoon, Nisha. Well, I think the overall growth, I think, in the entire O2C business, I think as we see in different product verticals, I think, which they talk about, including into the vinyl segment. They are basically talking about doubling the size or more than doubling the size in many cases from here on, I think next 3 to 4 years time from now. So which means that I think the continued activity in this O2C business, I think also continues, largely I think attributed to the higher amount of demand getting generated into the system because of the economy growing. So on one side, you have the new material business segment, I think, which is growing. On the other side, I think the conventional business also, I think, catching up with the demand, and the investment is going into that. Carbon fiber business in particular, I think, is basically attracting higher amount of attention now, because that's a material which is going to be the material of future, be it in automobiles or be it any other engineering products. I think this is one material which is going to have significantly larger demand. And that's where I think for the first time a clear-cut roadmap has been spelled out for investing further sum of money into the carbon fiber. So in my viewpoint, I think given the kind of roadmap of investment of around 75,000 crores over next 3 to 4 years time, we thus again suggest that I think the current O2C business, I think, which is in the vicinity of around 50-60,000 crores EBITDA, I think could possibly, I think, continue to grow in a vicinity of around 12 to 15% going forward on a sustainable basis.
Okay, 75,000 crores to begin with, and then once they see the scalability, I think Mr. Manish said that could be doubled as well. Naveen Kulkarni is also with us. Naveen, good to have you with us here. Thanks for waiting. Again, to go back to Telecom, what's the route for you?
Yes, so Telecom looks fairly interesting because Jio has already bought out a lot of spectrum for 5G services. And interestingly, the chairman put out clearly that they will be using multiple bands, including the 700 megahertz band for coverage, right? So that's a very, very interesting proposition that we are looking at. So we are looking at one pan-India standalone 5G technology rollout happening by December 2023 using multiple bands. And of course, with the kind of throughput that we are looking at. So this is going to be, I would say, a major growth engine for Jio over next to 3 to 5 years, right? So that is very, very critical. So Jio, of course, has reached a certain market share in terms of subscriber base and, of course, the product penetration. But with the kind of investments that we are looking at 5G and with newer aspects coming, which is machine-to-machine communication, more and more broadband communication, I think the growth path for Jio becomes even more clearer. So I think these are good steps that the company is taking to create immense value in this part of the business.
Okay, let's get Probal Sen into the conversation as well. Prabal, in the oil to chemical business, we are clearly entering the next leg of growth for Reliance Industries. They've announced a 75,000 crore investment over the next 5 years. Your thoughts on how this business could grow and eventually reflect in the stock as well?
Well, I think the number was definitely a surprise for us. After the kind of capex expansion that had already happened in the petchem and OTC space, and with the increasing focus on new energy businesses, I think, frankly, the impression that we had was that there would be some specialty chemicals diversifications that would happen down the line, but the initial focus would remain on the new energy businesses. But Reliance has managed to surprise with a fairly large amount of petrochemical, specifically the polyester chain capex. So to that extent, one will have to obviously see the economics of how that works out and what kind of returns they are looking for it. Yes. But yes, I mean, the OTC investment alongside, continued expansion of the green energy businesses, and of course, the very large capex that was announced for the digital services businesses means that I think the FCF yield will probably continue to remain fairly modest, and returns, of course, are something that they have shown that they have generated world scale EBITDA and EBIT from each of the new businesses that they've set up over the last 5 years. So the next 5 years will also be fairly interesting to look at how they can convert these kinds of investments into earnings growth as well, and build on top of what is already a peer-leading earnings growth trajectory for the next couple of years that is already there in the street estimates.
Right. Thanks so much, Prabal, for giving us your first thoughts on the AGM and how do you look at it. Yes, surprise on the O2C business investment. That's what came from you. But 5G rollout is what everybody's been excited about. So thank you so much, Deven, Probal, Balaji and Naveen for joining us. And it's a wrap from my entire team on this special coverage from Sonia, Prashant and myself. Thanks so much for tuning in.
I'm pleased to share that over the next 5 years, we will invest rupees 75,000 crores and expand capacities in existing and new value chain. Within the next 2 months, that is by Diwali of 2022, we will launch Jio 5G across multiple key cities, including the metro cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Calcutta. Subsequently, we plan to increase the Jio 5G footprint month after month until by December of 2023, Akash and Isha have assumed leadership roles in Jio and retail. They have been passionately involved in our consumer business since its inception. All of them are being mentored on a daily basis by our senior leaders, including myself and the board of directors.
I'm excited to announce that this year, we will launch our fast-moving consumer goods business.
Well, 5G rollout starting Diwali, doubling the conglomerate's value in 5 years, a foray into the FMCG space and ramping up the new energy business. These are just some of the key highlights of Reliance Chairman Mukesh Ambani's speech to shareholders at the company's 45th annual general meeting. Let's take you through the details. First, Mukesh Ambani stressed that Jio would offer the world's largest and most advanced 5G network service. He has announced a 2 lakh crore rupee investment plan for the rollout of 5G network. He said that 5G would be launched in multiple key cities, including Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata by Diwali this year. Jio is looking at a pan-India rollout of 5G services by the end of 2023. Mukesh Ambani also laid out the timeline of some of the new energy projects already announced by the company. Reliance is looking at establishing 10 gigawatts of annual cell and module capacity by 2024, which will be scaled up to 20 gigawatts of fully integrated capacity by 2026. Reliance is also setting up battery pack facility by 2023, which will be scaled to 5 gigawatt hours of capacity by 2024 and further to 5 gigawatt hours by 2027. Reliance is also aiming to pivot from grey hydrogen to green hydrogen by 2025. Further, Reliance will establish a 20 gigawatt solar generation capacity by 2025. A quick look at Reliance's investment blueprint. Mukesh Ambani said the company is looking at doubling Reliance's value by 2027, and they are looking at a 75,000 crore rupee investment in green energy, along with 75,000 crores in oil to chemicals, and 2 lakh crore rupees for the 5G rollout, as we pointed out. The big announcement coming in
was Reliance's foray into the FMCG space. Reliance Retail will launch its FMCG business this year. Executive Director Isha Ambani said the objective of the business is to develop and deliver products that will solve every Indian's daily needs with high-quality products at affordable pricing. Mukesh Ambani also spoke about succession. He said Akash and Isha Ambani have assumed leadership roles in both Jio and Reliance Retail. Anant Ambani has joined the new energy business. The chairman continues to provide hands-on leadership and is now set to pass the baton on to the next generation as a mentor and, of course, as a hands-on leader. Well, those are just some of the highlights of the AGM speech delivered by the chairman, Mukesh Ambani. Let's first focus on the 5G rollout plan. Rima joins us now. Rima, so Diwali launch, that is what Reliance is factoring in, multiple cities to start with, and an 18-month period before a pan-India 5G rollout.
Absolutely, a Diwali dhamaka, you would say. So that's the first big takeaway, the timeline of the much-awaited 5G rollout. Jio has said they will launch 5G across multiple key cities, including Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata, and this is going to happen by Diwali of 2022. And then they're aiming for a full pan-India 5G coverage by December of 2023, less than 18 months from where we are currently. The second takeaway is look at Jio's monetary commitment to 5G. Jio has said that they will be investing 2 lakh crore to build a pan-India true 5G network. And remember, this comes after spending a whopping 88,000 crore on acquiring the 5G spectrum in the first place. They say the business case for 5G is so strong that they can achieve high teens ROC through a combination of mobility market share gains and SUC savings alone. And for those of you who are waiting for 5G-like broadband at home and a 5G phone, there is good news. Jio 5G will be also offering ultra-high-speed fixed broadband called Jio Air Fiber, and they also said that they're working with Google to develop an ultra-affordable 5G smartphone in India. 5G is also going to be, Jio 5G is also going to be the world's largest and the most advanced 5G network. Let me tell you why. Now, most operators in India are going to be deploying 5G on a non-standalone network, which basically is your 5G radio signal, which is delivered on the existing 4G infrastructure. Reliance Jio, on the other hand, will be deploying the 5G radio signals on a standalone network. With this, Jio can deliver new and powerful services like very low latency, massive machine-to-machine communication, 5G voice, edge computing, network slicing, and metaverse. And lastly, something which can make all Indians proud. Jio's 5G network has been indigenously developed. The end-to-end 5G stack developed by Jio is indigenous, which is fully cloud-native, software-defined, digitally managed, with support for even advanced features like Qualcomm security. Back to you.
Jio has prepared an ambitious and the fastest ever 5G rollout plan for a country of our size. Within the next 2 months, that is by Diwali of 2022, we will launch Jio 5G across multiple key cities, including the metro cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Calcutta. Subsequently, we plan to increase the Jio 5G footprint month after month until by December of 2023, which is less than 18 months from today, to deliver Jio 5G to every town, every taluka and every tehsil of our country. Jio will deploy the latest version of 5G called Standalone 5G, which has absolutely zero dependency on our 4G network. With Standalone 5G, Jio can deliver new and powerful services like low latency, massive machine-to-machine communication, 5G voice, edge computing and network slicing. Jio 5G will be true 5G in every sense, and I believe that India deserves nothing less than true 5G. And through the recent auction conducted by the Department of Telecommunications, we have also acquired the largest and the most appropriate mix of wireless spectrum for 5G.
Well, that is Mukesh Ambani taking us through the plans as far as the 5G rollout is concerned. But let's talk about the O2C business. Reliance's new energy business plans have also taken off, along with, of course, the existing O2C business. Sonal joins us now to detail the new energy plans and the investment commitment. Sonal.
Thanks a lot for that. Well, Reliance Industries has announced a 75,000 crore investment plan to expand their O2C capabilities across value chain, and 75,000 crore rupees additional investment, which was already announced in the new energy business last year, which has a potential of doubling from current levels according to the company. They have given timelines in terms of some of the projects which were already announced. They will be establishing 10 gigawatt of annual cell and module capacity by 2024, which will be scaled up to more levels, that is 20 gigawatt of fully integrated capacity by 2026. Additionally, they aim to extend the life of PV modules from 25 to 50 years. Some new investments into glass and film manufacturing were spoken of, and Reliance Industries is also setting up battery packs facility by 2023, where they will scale it to around 5 gigawatt hour of capacity by 2024 and 50 gigawatt hour by 2027. They will also be setting up new gigafactories for power electronics. Very important, they aim to transition from grey hydrogen to green hydrogen by 2025 itself.
All right, Sonal, many thanks for joining us. That summarizes the big announcements that came in from Reliance Industries. Joining us now is Prakash Diwan, Somesh Kumar, Leader Power and Utilities at EY India, and Gagan Sidhu, the Director of CEEW, the Centre for Energy Finance. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Prakash, let me start by asking you, expectations on what the blueprint would be as far as the 5G rollout is concerned. That was detailed by Mukesh Ambani. The commitment on both the new energy side as well as the O2C business being reaffirmed there. And of course, the FMCG foray on the Reliance retail side, that was the big new headline there. On balance, Prakash, how does it look post the AGM for Reliance?
So hi, yes, good afternoon, Shireen. So I think this was spectacular. The range of expansion, the growth trajectory that he's outlined, and then the rest of the team is kind of added to, is just stupendous. And I haven't come across a company so boldly setting forth a target to double itself in terms of value. Remember, it's value in just 5 years. So and a company of this size. So I don't think there's anything that got missed out. You can nitpick by saying, there's no detail on the phone that's going to be launched and, some tariff plans. But those are granular details that don't probably deserve to be in an AGM. The roadmap out from here is so impressive that if there is any company that can become truly global in terms of applications beyond what we've seen in the IT services, as a brand, as a technology provider, as an enabler to the rest of the world, parts of the rest of the world, I think it's going to be Reliance. So absolutely very proud of the fact that we are seeing this moment of Reliance turning into what eventually is going to be a fairly large transnational business empire across multiple geographies, and not just talk about India as a market.
Well, that's clearly the aspiration, especially when we talk about the clean energy, the green energy business. Somesh, let me get your thoughts, and Gagan to comment on that. Mukesh Ambani making it clear that they would like to position India as a world leader in green as well as clean technology. Gagan, on the back of the commitments made, the 75,000 crore rupee commitment on the clean energy side being reaffirmed today by Mukesh Ambani, as well as some timelines now of what will start when, especially on the battery pack facility being operationalized by 2023 and other such plans. What did you make of the announcements that came in?
Thanks, Shireen. So, I think broadly speaking, to begin with, it's good to realize and understand that Reliance is making a play at each of the three sub-transitions that constitute the broader energy transition in India. That's the power sector transition, the mobility transition, as well as the green hydrogen transition. And I think that's important because it's these three transitions which are going to make a net zero India, because today they account for about 70% of emissions. And on that topic of net zero, I just want to point out that we at CEW had conducted a study last year, we've actually written a study, where we actually estimated the investment requirement for India to achieve that net zero target by 2070. And that's something in the order of $10 trillion. So if you average it out over the next 50 years, we're talking about a $200 billion equivalent each year in investment for those three transitions. And by the way, $200 billion is also just about where the market cap of Reliance is today. So we're talking about investment opportunity each year equivalent to Reliance's market cap. Moving to the AGM itself, I thought I saw, I could probably divide what I heard and saw into 3 or 4 buckets. First was an upsizing of certain previous commitments. Of course, that 10 gigawatt factory has been upsized to 20. There was also a little bit of a walkthrough of some specific things that happened between the last AGM and this AGM. And specifically, they fell into the categories of acquisitions, they fell into the categories of partnerships, as well as some granularity, in terms of team members, in terms of team strength, which is all very, very important. And finally, I think in terms of where this transition or where this capacity growth is actually going to happen and how it's going to play out, what I would like to say is that given that the announcement, or given that the new energy business was just announced last year, it would have been premature to expect too much detail at this point. It's a reaffirmation of what really was announced last year, but I think it's the years to come that is really going to drive and show us what level and what scale that transformation is going to come at that pace specifically.
Yes, you're right. As Prakash was also pointing out that, the direction is clear, and the commitments made by Reliance have been further built on in this AGM speech today. Of course, as we get closer to those individual timelines, or those individual rollout timelines, more clarity will emerge. But Somesh, many thanks for joining us. Just for the benefit of our viewers who are just joining in, to recap some of the other headlines that came in, especially on the energy side. There's been so much talk around green hydrogen, and Reliance, of course, was one of the first few players to make that announcement of foraying into that space. In fact, a timeline now being given by the chairman, Mukesh Ambani, saying that they will commence the transition from grey hydrogen to green hydrogen by 2025. As I pointed out, that's just one of the aspects that was touched upon by Mukesh Ambani in his speech. But on balance, on the energy transition side, your big takeaways?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. As my fellow panelists said, this is definitely a stupendous announcement that was made by Reliance, last year, and now reiterated again. So huge investments being planned in the renewable energy, clean energy sectors. And the, 3-4 things that I would like to just highlight is that, all the targets that the country talks about is for a period of 2030. So I'm very glad to see that, we are setting up interim targets. We're talking about 2024, we're talking about 2025, 27. So, we have the timelines and the milestone charted out. We are expanding, and then we are doubling capacity. We are setting up battery storage by 2025, so which is very good. The second thing which I really think is that, the timing of the announcement is very, very appropriate. In case of certain equipment like, the cells, modules, etc. for solar, we are still dependent on imports. And we saw that, some of our neighboring countries took lead on that. But now in terms of, technologies like battery storage or green hydrogen, this is the time to actually make the most of it. This is the time to really get into it and plan the investment at the big scale that has been said. The third thing, which is of very great significance, is that, a lot of these technologies are still very costly. For instance, the battery storage cost is still very high. Green hydrogen is also still not viable. But, it's only announcements like these and, real intent to work towards those, at a scale that has been announced by Reliance and other players as well, that can drive the costs down and bring large-scale investments into this sector. So I think, these announcements, given the size at which these have been announced, I think will drive the whole industry, will drive the whole ecosystem, and actually make sure that the costs come down, and also these are embedded into the system very well. And most of these capacities, as we see, are, substantial. For instance, the battery storage, probably the country needs for round-the-clock power, it needs about 100 gigawatts of battery storage by 2030, and Reliance is already saying that it will set up 50 gigawatts of that. So, a huge capacity which has been planned, and really, and for a fact, we know that since the time the announcements were made last year, there have been substantial steps taken to actually work towards these, bring them to fruition, which is very good. So we see a lot of credibility in the announcements as well. So all in all, a very, very positive move from my side.
Yes, creating that ecosystem, and the hope is that it will eventually in the future drive down costs. That's the expectation. But Prakash, speaking about the future, the chairman also very clearly articulating the sort of line of succession, so to speak, saying very clearly that all our next generation leaders are determined, focused, brimming with new ideas. The next generation will together script a newer and more exciting chapter, that the company has put a governance system in place to ensure that there's accountability at all levels. Of course, Akash and Isha Ambani have already assumed their leadership roles in Jio and Reliance Retail. Anant Ambani has joined the new energy business. Prakash, what did you make of the articulation on what the future leadership roles could look like?
So, Shireen, you remember in the reaction that the market had when Akash Ambani was elevated to the chairmanship for the Jio business, and this was so positive because it takes away the element of doubt in terms of timelines, what's going to happen. I mean, Isha Ambani is already talking about introducing FMCG as a product line to the retail side, and that is dramatic in terms of what it can do to the entire texture of the business from a valuation perspective. If you're just a aggregator and you're selling in a marketplace, it's different. But if you have your own products which also get sold along the way, it becomes dramatically different. So what they're doing, the next gen is actually putting the building blocks which will see the organization grow into a very strong trajectory with the advantage of experience and wisdom from the seniors. I think it couldn't have been better in terms of timing. So I'm very convinced the new energy business, which is starting off the block, having somebody as young as Anant Ambani, it's going to be very well aligned. That's what I'm trying to say. And the beauty about this is that last few years, if you look at the hiring that's happened across Reliance, different verticals in Reliance Industries, it's actually been managers who are in probably the early 40s or even below 40. The whole idea is to give them time to develop into key decision makers for the future and aid this new generation to kind of back those ambitious plans. You need great teamwork, you need great wisdom, you need great energy. I mean, you've got all that if you get this succession plan in place, which has happened. So I think that articulation is the first key stepping stone towards also demerging some of the or spin-offs of some of these businesses globally. Yeah, so I think it gives them time to drive those businesses, grow along with the businesses themselves, and then represent the organization globally to future investors as and when the time is right. So absolute perfect timing, and I have no doubts they'll do very well given the kind of, and they will have to work a lot harder, of course, given the ambitious plans that have been spelled out, but very exciting.
Yes, Mukesh Ambani there ending his speech saying that he would like, of course, the blessings of all shareholders for not just Isha, Akash and Anant Ambani, but for the 100+ generation next leaders that are now working to take Reliance forward. Prakash Diwan, Gagan Sidhu and Somesh Kumar, many thanks for joining us here to take us through what you made of the announcements that came in from the 45th AGM of Reliance Industries, the articulation and the blueprint of the growth map across different sectors, from retail to Jio to the clean energy transition. That's it then on this special broadcast from all of us here. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues on the other side.